Hey, everybody, this is your girl, Liana Michelle, as always, faithfully her. So, I want to talk to my women over 40 right now. So, if you're a woman over 40 and you're anything like me, you diet, you exercise, and you take your body through all of this, and you still can't get rid of your fupa, and you still got your inner thigh fat, right? So I know that's my issue. I diet, I exercise, and I'm like, my fupa won't go away, and this inner thigh fat just won't go away. Well, today, ladies, I have on for us Mrs. Jill Cruz. Now, Jill Cruz is the CEO and founder of Work with Your Nature Weight Loss. She she has a master's degree in human nutrition. She is a board certified nutrition specialist as well as a certified big leap coach, which we're going to learn more about because this is the first time I've heard of that. She also has her own podcast, Jill Cruz podcast, which also promotes health and wellness and nutrition for women of all ages, for that matter. So I want to get in with talking to her because her mission is to guide women to achieve their wildest dreams for their health while loving the food they eat and the life that they live. And I just think that's so commendable because a lot of us beat ourselves up all the time, right? So yes. I want you all to please put your hands together and help me welcome Miss Jill Cruz.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Liana, today. So what are we going to talk about?
So Jill, first of all, I just want to say thank you for coming on and speaking with us. I really appreciate it. Taking time out of your ultimate busy schedule.
I will always have time for you, Liana.
Oh. So Jill, let's just jump right into it. Tell us, how did you get into nutrition? Was it always a passion of yours, or was there an event that kind of pushed you in this area?
Yeah, there was definitely an event. When I was about 38, so a couple of years ago, more than a couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, and that's an autoimmune condition of the thyroid. It's actually very, very common. So many women are diagnosed with hypothyroidism, and they may have Hashimoto's, and oftentimes doctors don't bother to test, or if they do test, to tell the woman that she has this condition. So and the reason for that, I think from the doctor's perspective, is that hypothyroidism is easily treated with hormone replacement therapy. So I think a lot of times they figure, well, we'll just give her the hormone and she'll be fine and everything will be dandy. So when I was diagnosed, I had the numbers that were showing up in my blood work were very extreme. I had very high levels of antibodies. So that means my immune system was attacking my thyroid like aggressively. And my thyroid hormones were just very bad, because there's a couple different ones that they test for, and they all translated to, this person is not producing thyroid hormone at all. So that really sent me on a journey of trying to heal myself, and in the process going to nutrition school and getting my master's degree. And then eventually I worked for 6 years for a functional medicine doctor. And so throughout all of that time period, I was able to heal myself of the Hashimoto's. So I no longer have the autoimmune, but my thyroid was destroyed essentially. So I still take the hormones. But I'm totally fine. I mean, I have like no symptoms at all. So it's a happy ending. And after 6 years of working in functional medicine with people who are have very serious, complex conditions, I decided that I really wanted to do preventive work, which for me translated to weight loss. And, we help people with blood sugar, like pre-diabetes and stuff like that as well, because I noticed that a lot of the people who were coming to us, they had had all these different things going on that eventually just got worse and worse and worse. So I thought, oh, well, I wonder if I can prevent this.
Right, right.
So that's how I got into the weight loss world. And of course, I believe very strongly now that your weight is what you think it should be. So it doesn't mean you have to be this skinny little emaciated person. It just means that you are healthy and you feel energized and have vitality. So there's no magic number. The point is to be healthy.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what were those symptoms? Like if somebody is unsure of what the issues are, like if they're having certain issues, maybe they've gone to the doctor or they're not getting good answers or straight answers, what symptoms or what signs should they be looking for or identifying within themselves?
For hypothyroidism?
Yes.
So there's a long list, but the most common ones one of the most common ones is fatigue. But of course, fatigue could be so many different things, but that is a big red flag, especially if you're a woman in mid-30s or older, and especially if you've had children recently. Because there is this thing where pregnancy can kind of so-called trigger hypothyroidism.
Okay.
It can be transient, it can go away, but if you've had a baby a year or two ago and you're just tired all the time, I would definitely have it tested. But one of the more famous ones that people know about also is difficulty losing weight or gaining weight without doing anything differently. Like all of a sudden you're starting to gain weight and you're tired. You might want to consider hypothyroidism. Hair falling out is another common one. Dry skin, feeling cold all the time. So now you're getting into a list of symptoms that like you don't have to have all of them, right? Like let's say you have fatigue and you gain some weight and you don't know why, and you're cold all the time. Oh, yeah, it's most likely hypothyroidism. So the coldness, cold hands and feet, it affects our circulation. So that's why a lot of times the hands and feet can be cold. It can also slow down the digestive tract. So constipation is also very, very common. And like I said, the hair falling out, if it goes a long time, so people will get puffiness under the eyes. It can cause depression. It can also cause anxiety. It can cause menstrual disruption. And again, that could be, depending on the woman, it could be heavy periods or it could be lighter periods. So it's one of those things that if you Google it, you're going to find a list of like 30 different symptoms. Unfortunately. Yeah, but the cold and the fatigue and the weight gain are like, those are like very, very sort of classic hypothyroidism. That's when you're like I said, I wasn't producing enough of the hormone. Some people produce too much. That's hyperthyroidism. And it's almost like the exact opposite. So instead of being tired all the time, you're going to feel like wired and almost like too much energy.
Okay.
Instead of constipation, you have diarrhea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's instead of being cold, you're going to be hot because the thyroid regulates our body temperature and our metabolism. So, and it's involved in the menstrual cycle. So it can affect any system in the body. It's pretty crazy.
Oh, wow. And no, and like you said, there's a lot of symptoms. And it's funny because you might have those symptoms and identify it as something totally different and not even think to even test for your thyroid being part of the problem. Because like I'm fatigued and things of that nature, but I'm pretty sure it's attested to the lupus most of the time. But for someone who wouldn't have known that, I would have been out here just sleep at the red light all day, and not even understood why that was happening, So thank you for shedding the light on that. So for those of us who have no idea what that is, And so how long did it take for you, or what, well, let's start here. What processes did you actually go through to get you on the other side of that to health?
So I'll just put out first that this is very individual. What I
Okay.
did doesn't necessarily mean that everybody should do that. So, because people ask me, like, how did you overcome Hashimoto's? Because the doctor told me, it's impossible. And maybe you've heard that about autoimmune in general, that you
Mm-hmm.
cannot overcome it.
Right.
So in the beginning I was just like, like I have no idea what to do. Like I had a lot of anxiety. One of the things actually was that I went on the hormone. So you would think that, well, how would the hormone fix the autoimmune? That doesn't make any sense. But if you think about it, once the body was able to calm down, because the hormone was coming in artificially through my mouth, of course, but my whole system was able to calm down. So there's a theory that autoimmune is kind of like a vicious cycle in a way, like the immune attacks the tissue, and then the tissue gets inflamed, and that further promotes this cycle of the immune system attacking it. You probably
Right.
know around lupus, right?
Right.
So if you can calm down the tissue a little bit, that will help. So I took Armor Thyroid, which is um, it's not a synthetic hormone. It's made actually from pig thyroid. And
Mm.
there are, for those people who, or Muslim, or who don't, or don't want to ingest any kind of pork products, they do have beef derived hormones. Now, this totally prescription. I go to Walgreens and get it. It's not some,
Over the
wizard
counter.
on a mountain that I. This
Right.
is
That just
this
got a
is a,
backyard full of pigs for you.
right. No, this is this is the medication that my insurance pays for and everything. It's just that it's not made synthetically. You can get synthetic hormones, and I'm not saying one is necessarily bad or good. I'm just saying that's what I did, and I generally do prefer. And my cat's involved in this conversation. I
I
don't know
just
if you can hear her. she's she, it's because my daughter's not here and she feels lonely. But sorry about that. She likes to talk about thyroid too.
no
Um,
worries.
so uh, generally, though, when you take it from the natural derived hormone, you're going to get the spectrum of hormones that are produced by the thyroid. The synthetic is usually just one, and your thyroid produces multiple hormones. So I do credit part of my healing to actually taking the hormone, which is interesting. The other things were that, I tried a lot of things, Liana. Let me tell you, I tried a lot of things over the years. I would say the two things that I credit the most with the full recovery, well, actually three. One, just eating whole foods as much as possible, not eating processed foods, not eating a lot of sugar. I'm not saying I avoided sugar 100%. I just didn't eat a lot. I just reduced it.
Right.
Just overall, just eating a whole foods diet, cooking at home, natural foods, those sorts of things. Also, interestingly, physical fitness, in particular strength training, because with diet and the hormones, I had gotten quite far, reducing those antibodies, but they were lingering around. I mean, people may not know this, but there's two different hormone antibodies they test for, and they were both around 200. That they're supposed to be zero. And when I started exercising very faithfully at the gym, after about a year, they were gone,
Oh,
zero.
okay.
And they continue to be zero to this day. That's been probably like 2017. So like almost 6 years now that I've been antibody free. I continue to exercise, I continue to eat well. Sleep is important, but honestly, I fixed my sleep after that all happened. So but like I said, it really does depend on the person, on what's going to work for you.
So I know now, with being vegan, going plant-based has like really taken off in the past little few 5 years or so. It's like it blew up, you know.
Mhm.
Before it was just maybe a handful of people that were vegan that you would hear about, but now it's like such a major trend. So
Mhm.
tell us, from the nutritional standpoint, how dangerous is the foods that we eat, that we put into our body, as far as, meat, processed foods, cheese, all the things that you love, the macaroni and cheese, and the collard greens with the smoked turkey meat.
Oh, that sounds good.
how how dangerous, or what is the effect that those type of foods really have on our body, and especially when it comes to diseases?
So I will separate out it's I'm not a fan of the vegan diet. I'm not against it, but it's definitely not something that I would go to readily with anybody. My philosophy is this: everybody has a way of eating that's going to suit them best. So for some people, that may be a vegan diet, but that's up to the individual. So I am anti-dietary dogma. I do not believe that there is one diet that everybody should be eating. I think that the claiming that is actually damaging to people's lives. And I've met people who have been damaged by a vegan diet. Now, I've met people who've been damaged by eating a paleo diet or a carnivore diet as well. Like, it's not to say that vegan is any worse than any other diet out there, but since you mentioned it,
Right.
what I would rather encourage people to do is to 100% emphasize whole foods. So when you look at meat in particular, you could eat a hot dog, right? That's got like coloring and flavoring and, pesticide, all this stuff, not pesticides, antibiotics, hormones and stuff like that, made from like the worst droppings of the meat that's like left in the corner of the factory, right?
Right.
That's not a good food. Let's face it, that is a highly processed food. However, if you were to go to the butcher and get a steak, which has been very minimally processed, or you buy a side of a chicken, or you buy a whole chicken, or you even buy like chicken legs, that is minimally processed.
Okay.
So I would rather than saying, oh, this food group is damaging and this food is good, which is what like the vegans do it. They say, well, meat is bad, vegetables are good, right? But there's a whole group of people, the carnivore group, and they say meat is good and vegetables are bad.
Right.
Like literally
Right.
the exact opposite. I'm more of like, eat what makes you feel good, but make sure it's whole foods.
Okay.
80, 90% of what you're eating, if it can be whole foods. Now, whole food can mean so many different things, right? You might say, well, isn't a chicken leg processed? Yes, it's processed, but it's a lot less processed than a hot dog or cold cuts or any kind of like meats in a can, like I mean, people buy
Ugh.
meat like in a can, right?
Yeah, like, no, we're
Or
not
fish
doing
in a can.
spam.
Yeah, spam, exactly. That's I couldn't remember the name. So those, I think it's, if you take a little bit of time, it's kind of obvious what's highly processed. And you can look at the ingredients. If it has one ingredient, it's probably less processed, right? Than if it has three or four or five. When you get into grains, like crackers, cereals, granola bars, most bread that you buy in the store, that is all ultra processed.
Mm. Even my
So there
Sara
goes your
Lee,
mac and cheese.
even my Sara Lee honey wheat bread. I can't have the Sara Lee honey wheat bread. It's my favorite bread.
Well, you'll never hear me say that you can't have blah 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 blah.
Right.
You'll never hear me say that in 100 years of being a nutritionist. I will never say it to anybody. It's about whenever you're making choices about nutrition, you want to look at two things. What are your goals? And what are you doing now relating to, what are the results of what you're doing now? So if you have certain goals, like if you're healthy and happy and everything's going fine, then don't change your diet, right? But if there's something that you want different, then yes, you could look at your diet and you could say, well, that bread, even though it's delicious, is not nutritionally, it's basically
Right.
not something I would recommend. But if you love it a lot and you feel like it's something that gives you joy and pleasure, then maybe you have it sometimes. But most of the time, you eat whole grains, right? Which would be like a bowl of oatmeal, or you could buy whole wheat sourdough bread. So there are always whole food options for the stuff that's processed for the most part. Like Velveeta is Velveeta. That is a
Right.
highly processed cheese food that, but it's never an all or nothing thing.
Yeah.
So it always has to be within the context of what are my goals and what am I willing to do? What am I able to do? I mean, if someone is a single mom, she has 2 kids and she's a teacher, I'm thinking of a client that we had this past year, commuting 35 minutes each way to school. Yeah, she had to be selective about the adjustments that she was making in her diet. Reality is real, right? So I think that it's, especially her goal is to lose weight. So, if someone has autoimmune, it's a little bit different, right? You might be a little bit more, I hate to use the word, but strict with your choices. But for someone who wants to lose weight, yeah, maybe they could have a slice of the cereally bread 2 or 3 times a week and still lose weight.
Okay.
All the more power to you, honey. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I don't like things to be in black and white or good or bad. It's just a matter of like kind of, slowly changing your diet in a way that feels comfortable for you, that doesn't feel like this big, horrible, like you said earlier about dieting, right? Like dieting is such a terrible, terrible thing. I'm anti-diet, honestly.
Yeah.
It's too much work. It's too loaded of a word, Oh, I got to give up my bread now. I got to give up
Because
this.
you know what it does when you say diet, it makes you want everything more. At least for me.
Exactly.
At least, yeah, in my situation, it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go on my diet. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, I want all the donuts and all the cookies. And I'm like, I didn't even want a donut or a cookie before I said the word diet. It just
Yes.
makes you want more, the things that you're giving up for your diet. It just draws you to it even more so.
Yes.
It's so ridiculous.
And that has actually been researched. And when people go on diets, I just went to a conference in San Diego about, it's called Obesity Week, which is not the best name in the world, but it's like the latest research in obesity. Incredible stuff. And there so many times they would mention it in these different presentations about how dieting causes people to gain weight. Ultimately, partially because of what you're talking about, that they go on a diet and the brain just says, that deprivation drives you to do the opposite. That's just human nature, honestly. And we have to recognize that, that's why I'm anti-diet.
Yeah. And it's funny because in ABA, we talk about that. We talk about, when we're working with clients or whatever, and we're putting ABA practices into place, and we look at what the motivating operation is. What is the motivator for this behavior change? And a lot of times we would say, okay, well, before we start therapy, we're going to remove the iPad. We're going to deprive them of the things that they like the most, because then they'll be more motivated to work for it. And then we could see that behavior that we're looking for, so they could get the reinforcer of that iPad back. And you're right. When you said that, it's like, yeah, when you deprive yourself of something, that motivation for it intensifies, and you just want to do whatever you can to get to it. So if that means, okay, instead of me going to the gym today, and we call this bootleg reinforcement, instead of me going to the gym today, per usual, I'm just going to take a walk, but I'm going to walk to the Dairy Queen and get this ice cream And that's my reinforcer, or that's my reward for this walk. And it's like you're doing yourself almost a disservice, because you're walking to the Dairy Queen and then you're walking back
Right.
home and you're eating your ice cream. So every calorie you burned off, you're putting right back. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But your mind
Yes.
is like highly motivated for that sugar or for that sweet,
Right.
thing that you're depriving your body from. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's why I always encourage people to find non-food reward system, to create a non-food reward system for their whatever it is that they're doing. But the one thing that I feel, if I could just shout this from the rooftops to anybody who wants to lose weight or even just be healthy, it doesn't matter, whatever it is that you want to do, is the rule is nourish first. Nourish first. Instead of thinking of what you can't eat, what will you eat that's going to nourish your body? So, because, I mean, the people who come to us, they've been yo-yo dieting for a while. They've been there, done that 100 times. All the famous companies, I won't name any here, done all of them.
Right.
Way more now than they did when they started. So what I say is, first of all, most people know like what healthy foods are. Whether they eat meat or not, doesn't matter. But most people know like vegetables are positive, and like, shrimp is positive, and like we have a pretty good idea. So you just start by adding in those foods first, because what happens is when people yo-yo diet, their tolerance for dieting goes down and down and down and down. So when they come to us, they don't want to get rid of anything.
Right.
They're traumatized. So,
Right.
so what we say is, well, let's nourish your body first. What can you add to your breakfast? What can you add to your lunch? What can you add to your dinner? You have those cheese puffs, you have that brownie, you have that Dairy Queen. We're just going to leave that for now. I'm not saying it's good, but we're not even going to talk about that right now. What we're going to talk about is what can you add to your lunch that's going to be to take care of your body, that's going to be loving to your body. And so that might be a salad. Not saying you can't have the pizza,
Right.
but I'm saying you got to have the salad or whatever it is. And the person always comes up with what they like too, because that's really important, right? You got to like what you're eating, or else it's not sustainable.
Yeah, and that's, and that makes sense, because I know when I started after my heart attack, and I really had to start looking at like, okay, what am I eating? What can I do differently? And I really I like smoothies, but I wasn't taking them in on a consistent basis. But I said, okay, I'm going to start being more consistent and having a smoothie every morning for breakfast. And then, my doctor was like, well, make sure you add some protein to that. So I was like, okay, I love bacon, but I switched to turkey bacon. So I would do 2 pieces of turkey bacon and a smoothie in the morning. Now I just add some protein powder to it, and I don't even do the bacon anymore. But I was able to start kind of changing that for myself. So, and then, you know what? I just heard something. Did I hear this, or did I read it somewhere, where they said kale is not as good of a green as we think it is, or like people going kale crazy, but kale isn't that great. So can you give me some insight? Because I do kale every morning in my smoothie. I do kale, spinach, and my mixed berries, my protein powder, a little apple cider vinegar, a lemon, and a half of a cucumber. And it's so freaking tasty. That is, and that's my breakfast, and it fills me up. Like I don't have anything to eat. And then I take like a granola bar, and I take a half a grapefruit, and then I take carrots and celery sticks, and that's my lunch. So I take that. So when I do get hungry, that's what I can nibble on, that little bitty stuff, until I get home that evening. But yeah, can you give me some insight on kale? Because I do kale every day.
So here's the test. Is kale a whole food?
Well, I buy it frozen because I'm putting it in my smoothie.
So it's frozen, but is there any ingredients besides kale in the bag?
Oh,
Like it's
no.
just kale, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's, yeah, I mean, most things we buy in the store might be minimally processed. But so if you buy chickpeas, they're probably going to be in a can, but they're still pretty much chickpeas, right? So
Right.
that's what I mean by, whole food. Like you don't have to go and grow kale in your garden. Like it's okay. But so for that's the first test. Is it
Okay.
a whole food or is it an ultra processed food or a mildly or not processed food? If it's not a processed food, then it gets a green light. Now, if you eat it and then every time you eat it, you have a stomach ache, well, that's your body maybe saying, maybe kale isn't the best food for you. So
Okay.
I rely on observation. So your whole face was lighting up when you were talking about the smoothie.
Okay. I love it.
That to me, that is worth its weight in gold,
Okay.
because the other part about Nourish First, if I can just digress for a moment,
Hmm.
is it's not just about nourishing your body with water and protein and fiber and good fats, right? It's also about nourishing your emotional world, your intellectual world, and your spiritual world. The problem that we get, and you'll see this, you'll see people who are super, super healthy, they're working out and they're drinking the smoothies and everything's perfect, but they're totally high strung and they're miserable.
Right.
Why? Why? Because they're nourishing their bodies, but they're not nourishing their emotional world properly, or they're not nourishing their spiritual world, or even intellect. Intellect is important too. So I talk
Mhm.
about we have to nourish all four of these things. Now I'll tell you, if you're eating a food that's mostly whole foods and it makes you smile and it gives you energy, who's going to take that away from you? I would be very angry if someone tried to take that away from you. Now you could alternate greens. You could put collard greens in there. You could put spinach, arugula. Like you could alternate your greens. That would be probably a good thing, just to get different types of fibers and the little micronutrients, the polyphenols and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But so I don't demonize any whole food.
Okay.
I don't care what it is. It could be nuts. Some people are allergic to nuts. Some people are not. And those people, if they like nuts and they feel good when they eat them, then they should eat them. Now, you got to be careful, because if you eat too many nuts, they have a lot of fat. So sometimes it can make people gain weight. But it
Okay.
really comes down to how do you feel? How do you feel when you eat that food? That's the most important
Yeah.
thing.
And and moderation too is something
Yeah.
else that I had to learn. So I had to tell myself, you know what? You're not gonna just cut yourself off from things, because when you cut
Mm-hmm.
yourself off from it, it only makes you want it more, and then you
Yeah.
overindulge. So
Yes.
to prevent that from happening, to be proactive, what I will do is, and I noticed that I don't even eat them as much anymore. Like I would buy a big bag, like just a regular family size type bag of chips, and every day or every evening when that thing kicks in, where I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I gotta have some potato chips. And then I would just take like maybe a handful, so
Uh-huh.
maybe 5 or 6 of them, and that will quench it. And I'm fine. And then I could put
Mm-hmm.
them up. And then that bag of chip would that family size bag of chips will last me for like 2, 3 weeks. So,
Yeah.
and now what I notice is I have a bag of chips down there now. That's a family size bag of chips. I bought it about 4 weeks ago, and I think I only ate out of it twice, and I haven't
Wow.
touched it again. And I
Mm-hmm.
just noticed that last night, where I was like, he throw this bag of chips away. Like I haven't even eaten it. It's been sitting here for all this time. I know they can't be good anymore, so let me just toss them. But just cutting the moderation down and taking it a
Yes.
little bit at a time kind of got me over the hump with it. And when I bought the chips, I also bought some pistachios. And what
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh.
noticed was I ate the pistachios more than I ate the chips.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I was even doing the pistachios like 5 or 6 at a time, because I didn't want to just be sitting there eating the whole bag of pistachios. But even eating that in moderation. So for me, I think when I take things when I don't cut myself off completely, I just scale it back, and
Yeah.
I monitor how much I'm eating per day or whatever. It helps me out better. It
Yeah.
does. And it helps me to be able to eliminate those things out of my diet, to where I don't even realize that it's gone now. So now
Yeah.
there is no craving for that potato chip in the evening anymore, and that helps too. So for people who are out there, just try scaling some things back. Don't cut it
Yeah.
off completely, but pace yourself with it and then see how that works for you.
Yeah. And I think the important thing too, like this is where I always go back to nourish first, is if you eat enough protein and healthy fats and fiber, which is like colorful vegetables and, plant-based foods, whole foods, right? You're going to feel much more satisfied biologically, right? And also water is a big one too.
Yes.
Because what happens is people say, oh, I'm going to go on a diet and I'm just going to have a little yogurt for breakfast. And then I'm going to have a little salad for lunch. And then 3 p.m. it's like, give me the potato chips.
Right.
Because you're like, not only is your brain craving something, your body, your hormones are calling out. Your brain is telling you, get food in now. Well, what better food than your brain doesn't care if it's potato chips or not, because it just is seeking out that
Yeah.
fuel. So that's why I say nourish yourself first, because if you just start eating a little bit more protein, a little bit more fiber, a little bit more fat, you may notice that physically you don't desire those foods. And it sounds like you've gotten to that point with your
Yeah.
diet where you are satisfying your basic biological needs. And therefore, because if you think about it, if someone has cereal with milk, low fat milk for breakfast, and then they go and have like a tuna fish sandwich for lunch, nothing terrible in there, perhaps, right? But not enough protein, almost no fiber, and not really any fat either. So of course you're going to crave food. And the thing that's so fascinating is that there are these companies out there, we won't name any names, but they're the big ones. When you go to the supermarket and you see the processed, brownies and cookies and all of those things, those didn't come that way by chance. There's a whole team of people who understand how our brains work, and they are manufacturing this food to be addictive to us and appealing to us. So we're sitting ducks. If you didn't eat a good breakfast and lunch and you go into the store,
Yeah.
you're basically helpless, practically helpless. Of course, your brain wants the fat and the protein. It wants the fat and the protein, like stat. Well, protein, and then you got the sugar, right? Quick energy.
Yeah.
It's a brownie. There's a brownie for you.
I look at it too like addiction, right? If
Mm-hmm.
someone is addicted to drugs and they've been doing these drugs or alcoholism or whatever, and then when they first go to rehab to get off of that drug or to put that bottle down, their body goes through what is called withdrawals.
Yeah.
So they get the shakes, they're sweating, they may have diarrhea, they go through all of these different things because their body has been so accustomed to that drug that
Mm-hmm.
now it's reacting because it's not getting it.
Yeah.
And your mind is probably playing tricks on you because it's used to it and it wants it. So it's talking to you. It's the same type of thing with your health. When you
Mm-hmm.
think of your diet and so forth, if you live 20 years on Big Macs
Yeah.
and you just stop cold turkey, your body is going to freak out. Your mind
Yeah.
is freaking out because where's my Big Mac? I've been eating Big
Yeah.
Macs every day for 20 years. And now you're not giving me Big Macs. And your body is going to go through some things. And your mind is also going to go through some things. And what it wants you to is going to take you through whatever it's taking you through because it wants it. So if your mind can push you back into that McDonald's drive-through line, that's what your mind is going to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
you have to give yourself some grace and
Yeah.
you have to realize that, like, hey, okay, so I know my body is going to go through some withdrawals and I know I'm going to be seeing cheeseburgers everywhere I look, but it's just my mind playing tricks on me and it's my body going through some things. I have to give
Yeah.
myself some grace and give it some time
Mm-hmm.
so we can get to a stability, a
Yeah.
stable mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so forth. So that's the way I had to kind of look at it for myself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is
Yeah.
probably a weird way, but I had to look at it
No.
like this is an addiction. It's no
Yeah.
different than any other addiction. So this is
Yeah.
an addiction. you have been so used to fried chicken and mac and cheese and dressing and so forth. And now that you're taking those things away from your body is going to react.
Yeah.
So how do you do this in a healthy way to where your body isn't completely out of whack, your mind isn't playing tricks on you, and you can do this better and get healthier in the process?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that I don't think it's weird at all. I think you're spot on. And it also, I think in a way is a little bit feels like a relief. It's like, oh, if you can call it an addiction, it feels like, okay, this is not going to be easy. Right. That, like you said, it gives you that grace to say, this is something that's been going on for a long time. It's not going to be easy, and it's okay that I'm having those urges for those foods, but I go back to, if you didn't eat enough protein at your lunch, you are you're in a much weaker position to resist those urges, or simply you just didn't drink enough water. And that's why I always tell people, I'm like, if you have a craving, drink a glass of water. It'll most likely go away, at least temporarily. It might come back, but it can help. So it's hard. I mean, that's the nitty gritty of changing your diet, is not easy. If you don't have those tools and that mindset, it's almost impossible. I don't even know how people do it sometimes. Just sheer will.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that hard if you're nourishing your body properly and okay, I'm dealing with an addiction here. Okay, so it is what it is, and I'm going to move forward with that knowledge, with that, a little bit of grace, like you said.
Yeah. So I know we're not saying the big names of those companies, but they have so many different weight loss products out. Take two pills, drink warm water before bed, or all of these different things that are designed to help you drop weight and drop it fast, because we're a microwave society, right? We want to lose the weight. I want to say I'm going on a diet, and tomorrow I want to be 30 pounds lighter. Like it doesn't work that way. So I guess my question is, I'm pretty sure that the healthiest way is what you're saying, nourishing your body with the proper proteins, the proper foods. So you're giving your body everything that it needs at a rate to where it's not being overly done, it's not overly indulging. So for those of us who have, like me, because I've indulged in buying the products as well, like, oh, let me see if it'll work. It worked for her. She's on the commercial and her waistline is here. I want a waistline that's there. What advice would you give to us, for the ones of us that indulge in all of these commercial type products that say, you could do this in 2 weeks, you will be 15 pounds lighter?
Well, I would say save your money. Don't do that. I think one of the things that I often say to clients is gradual weight loss sticks. Rapid weight loss does not stick. So yes, you can go and take a pill. It's going to suppress your appetite. Usually they're prescription, but I'm sure there's over-the-counter ones. And you're not going to eat as much food. Maybe eat 800 calories a day for a month, and you lose a bunch of weight. That, to me, I say that's weight loss 101. Like, I could do that in my sleep. That's easy. It's easy to get people to basically starve themselves and lose weight.
Right.
The art form is, how do you lose weight gradually with pleasure?
Yeah.
Like, I would say to you, well, do you want to spend money, waste money, lose weight, and then gain it back? But the answer would probably be no. I don't want to do that. I feel like I've done that before. That sounds familiar. So the other option would be to say, to recognize that it's having excess weight is a symptom. It's not the problem, right? It's a symptom of something. It could be that someone eats too much. It could be that someone's not active. It could be someone has hypothyroidism. It could be that, they had a baby and they're stressed or what, there's all these different reasons that we put
Right.
on extra pounds. So
Right.
it's not the weight, it's what caused that in the first place. That needs to be addressed.
Right.
So, and you can do that. But the thing is that usually we wait like, oh, I put on 5 pounds extra and then I put on another 5. And then 10 years later, oh, I put on 50 pounds. So how did that happen?
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, oh my gosh, it seems overwhelming to lose 50 pounds. It's going to take, forever. Well, let me do it fast. But if it took 5 or 10 years to put on those 50 pounds, how do we expect to lose them in 2 months or 6 months or
Right.
something like that?
Right.
It's
Right.
it's magical thinking, which is a term in psychology, I believe, right? Magical thinking. It's not real. It's not going to happen. So if you think of it as, in order to lose the weight, you have to heal and take care of your body rather than, and also I think these pills and these dieting regimes are very adversarial. It's like, oh, we got to get rid of the fat. Oh, that's the gross part of me that I want to get rid of. What I say is, actually, let's embrace and love ourselves, nourish ourselves first, right? So let me actually love myself exactly as I am right now, and then embark on a healing process that will, by its nature, it has to be gradual. And if it's gradual, it sticks. You lose 50 pounds in a year, which seems like a long time to some people I know, you're probably, I'm not never say never, but much less likely that you're going to gain the weight back. Because
Yeah.
what did you do for a year? You did a lot. You changed your habits.
Yes.
Now yes, you look different on the outside, but you're also different on the inside because you have lifestyle habits. You wake up a little bit earlier and you go to bed a little earlier, and then you also walk every day, and you also eat more like you have these habits that you accrued over the
Right.
year, and those are with you for life. Forget
Yeah.
about weight loss. What are the wonderful habits that you have embodied, that you're actually a different person? Like, Liana, I'm sure you're a very different person now from before you had the heart attack, right?
Definitely. Definitely. Yes.
It's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's horrible. Nobody wants to have a heart attack.
Right.
Like, it's terrible. But it's like one of those things, like with me with the Hashimoto's, like it was really, really scary. But I also see that as a blessing for myself, because I am a totally different person, in part because of that event. So if you can see the extra weight as it's part of me. I developed this for whatever reasons it came about, and my goal now is to love and care for my body as if it's the most precious thing in the world. And it is. It
Yeah.
is. It's
Yes.
all we got, and God gave us this body. So, we got one.
So with your program, for someone who wanted to enter into your program, how would they go about becoming a client of yours, and what could they expect once they do enroll?
Well, thanks for asking that. So basically anybody who would be interested would set up a call with me. I do like basically a 45-minute or so, hour or so conversation, because I really want to get the person's background, their health history, understand what their challenges are, what their goals are, and see if our program is a match,
Okay.
because it's not a match for everybody. I've gotten onto calls with people where I was like, your diet's pretty good. I think you just need a personal trainer, or, whatever it is. But if it's a match, then I would say, propose that they work with us in our program. It's a 6-month program to start, because again, we believe it's a gradual process about developing habits. And I have 2 nutritionists who work for me. So the person would work with them and meet with the nutritionist weekly for the 6 months. And I believe very strongly, I don't, Noom helps some people. I shouldn't mention names, but some of these companies help people because they're maybe newer in the weight loss process. And the people who come to us are people usually who have dieted before. And
Right.
they're like, yeah, those programs don't really work for me. They need that someone holding their hand and like walking through the process with them, the accountability
Yeah.
and, the nutritional feedback and the mindset. And we also coach on, sleep and stress management and fitness and mindset. Like it's a holistic approach.
Okay. Now, is that a part of the Big Leap coaching?
Oh, well, the Big Leap coaching I incorporate into the program. So another thing that we have in the program is I have group calls that I host for our clients who are in the program. And during those calls, I will utilize, it's all about mindset stuff. Because I think, as you can tell, 80 to 90% of what we're dealing with for weight loss and health is mindset. So
Mm-hmm.
I have very specific calls where we talk about, it's basically a kind of a coaching program aspect of the program. So Big Leap is, I was certified by the Hendricks Institute, which is Gay and Katie Hendricks. They're a couple. He's a PhD psychologist and she's a PhD dance and movement therapist.
Okay.
And so they coach their program. Most of the people who take their program are psychotherapists. Some of them are coaches like us. I haven't met another nutritionist, but some of
Okay.
them are coaches. And it's based, one of his most popular books was called The Big Leap, which was
Okay.
recently came out. So that I think is how they came up with the name, with the Big Leap coaches. And it's definitely a lot of somatic therapy. So about body awareness, using your breath, we're kind of taking some of the basic therapy ideas from therapy and just making them a more accessible, like, process your emotions. We do not pretend that we're therapists. We most of our clients work with therapists, or if they don't and they need to, we refer out. Like, we're
Yeah.
not trying to step outside of our boundaries. So we
Right.
use breath work, we use body awareness, mindfulness, and also like exploring your emotion, not suppressing your emotions, those sorts of things. It's
Yeah.
awesome. I love it.
And I like that combination too, because I'm not, especially for women, we tend to eat our emotions.
Yeah.
If we're sad, we want to eat. If we're angry, if we're depressed or anxious, anything, we
Yes.
heartbroken, you know what I'm saying? Like, we will eat that
Mm-hmm.
emotion. And a lot of time, and I know for me, a lot of times I would suppress things. So I
Yes.
wouldn't speak up. I would just
Mm-hmm.
hold it in, and I would be so angry with people. And like, oh, I
Yeah.
should have just cussed them out, Jesus. But, but you don't do that, because you the nice person and you want to be politically correct, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to offend people the way they offend you, and you want to take the
Right.
high road. But in taking that high road, you tend to sit there and eat the chocolate custard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you didn't let that emotion out. So now
Yes.
you're eating your feelings. So
Yes.
I like the fact that you incorporate that into your nutrition, your nutrition guided therapy, and helping people just get whole on all levels, and that you do
Right.
recognize that it is a mind, body, spirit type of,
Yes.
it's a whole person that you have to
Right.
heal, not just the bulge around the belly, but it's the whole person that needs to
Yes.
get healthy. So thank
Yeah.
you for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I felt it was absolutely essential. I mean, I started on the journey also because I had a nighttime eating addiction, and I found myself being very frustrated with feeling like an addiction, essentially, right? Like, what's wrong with me? I'm a nutritionist. Like, why do I have to eat at night like this? And so I went through all of this stuff in my own experience, in my mind.
Mhm.
Most of the stuff that I talk about, literally, it came from me, like experiencing it and then talking about it with people and clients. And so mindset it's so important. And that's why I say nourish your body, yes, but nourish your emotions and also the intellect. Because what I found when I really was being mindful, like, oh, I ate that ice cream again. Why did I do that? I was bored.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's boredom. It's not only emotions, it's also boredom or, stress, overwhelm, all that stuff. So I realized that about myself. So I realized I have to nourish my intellect as well, or else I'm going to go to the food. So reading a book instead of watching some stupid TV show,
Okay. Yeah.
So it's very holistic, and the spiritual aspect too. I think they're all equally important.
Yeah, that's one of the things that the coaching side of Faithfully Heard looks at is habit reversal training. So,
Mm,
when we look at the habits that we've developed over the years, and we look at what can we replace those unhealthy habits with,
mm,
to, for more positive, more healthier habits. And that does come into a lot of people are like, do you help people who want to lose weight? And I'm like, yeah, like, of course we do, because that's a habit. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
a habit that
right.
you formed. It's a habit that I formed. And another thing that I like that you said is that you share your journey and your story with your clients. And I
Hmm.
think that that's really important. I mentor younger women, and sometimes they'll look, you walk in the door and you're looking like a grown, sophisticated lady, and then
Hmm.
they're kind of, they kind of retreat because they think
Right.
you're going to judge them. But then when I
Hmm.
open up and I say, no, girl, I used to swing on the pole back in the day, they're like,
Hmm.
are you serious? And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah. And they're like, oh, and then they're more open and
Yes.
freer to share their story, and they're more comfortable in that space because they
Yeah.
realize, like, okay, this is a person too, she's not going to
Yeah.
judge me, she gets it. So I
Yeah.
appreciate
So
that, and
important.
I'm sure your clients do.
Yeah. Yeah. And we all do, the women who work for me, we all have, and I only work with women. I mean, for, who work for me. Um, and we all have our stories about that stuff. So it's so important.
Yeah, it is. It's good. It's good to be able to connect with people on a level
Yeah.
where they really understand that, like, they really get it, and they're not just saying, oh, I understand what you're going through, and then they've never been through it.
Yeah.
But if you've gone through it, then you can really identify with the emotional state that I might be
Yeah.
sitting in because of
Yeah.
the issue.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's important, Jill. You're doing great. You are doing
Thank
great,
you. Thank
Jill.
you, Liana. Thank you.
So tell
I
the people
appreciate
how
that.
we can reach you if they want to contact you for services, for a consultation, or if they just want to even learn more about your services. How can they find you?
Well, I would say number one, the podcast is such a great way to get to know me and my mission and my values, which I think is so, if you're going to spend money on a program, you want to trust that the person who's putting it together is of, high integrity and really does care.
Yes.
I think so. So that's one way to like get to know me. I'm on LinkedIn, which is where I think I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you just put Jill Cruz, and then also just go to our website, which is winweightloss.com. That's WYN weightloss.com for With Your Nature.
Okay. And they could go there. And I don't want to really, don't give me prices or anything, but you mentioned the single mom, 2 kids, that's just the school teacher. So that
Yeah.
income is not, you know, they don't pay our teachers enough to deal with some of the things they have to deal with. Is
Hmm.
there a payment plan or something that is set up that will allow a person to take advantage of your services and not have to stress the cost as much? Is
Yeah.
it like something they could set up where it's a weekly or a bi-weekly or something like that on a payment plan for them?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people just pay monthly. The
Okay.
I mean, I'm always willing to work with people because I mean, we're here to help people. We have a business, we have to pay our expenses, we
Right.
can't work for free, but like, I never want to turn someone away. I really don't. Like, it's, if they're committed. So I will always work with people, but yeah, most people pay monthly. And I think our program is very affordable. Some people can get reimbursement from insurance, which this teacher did, which was so wonderful. Teachers tend to have good insurance plans, which is a nice thing. And so her out-of-pocket expense was very, very low. And so she
Okay.
was able to do it, which was so wonderful. I mean, I was so happy to work with her. And you know, we do. I think I've set up a system that provides a lot of accountability and support that's also very affordable.
Yeah.
So,
And that was going to
you
be
know,
my
people
next
get that.
question. Do you accept insurance, private or otherwise?
We don't take insurance directly. People can submit for reimbursement.
Okay.
So we would give them a receipt, like a paid receipt, and then they would submit for reimbursement. And a lot of people get reimbursed, actually. I'm actually surprised because I thought that the insurance company was gonna be like, no way, you know, but they do. So it really depends on that person's insurance plan.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So see,
Mhm.
insurance is not that bad all the time. Um,
Yeah,
I
it
have
depends on the plan.
a young lady out of Boston, um, JLW Medical Consulting, and
Mhm.
she sets up for medical organizations, companies, and so forth. She goes in and she does all of their organizations, their software systems and patients and so forth. And
Mhm.
then she connects clients to resources.
Mhm.
Um,
Nice.
yeah, so I'm gonna put you guys in touch and maybe she could add you to her newsletter. And then
Yeah,
that'd be
I would love that.
another avenue for people to know how to find you and get in touch with you that can take advantage or need that type of a service. Because I know for me, sometimes it works better when somebody is on my case. As much as
Yep.
I used to hate when my mother would be on I'd be like, I'm grown, I don't need you to tell, I know what to do. I need it. I realize
Yeah.
that I need that though. Like I need that person to hold me accountable and make sure that I did do what I was supposed to do today. Did you get up? Did you exercise? Did you take your medicine? Did you? Because sometimes if I can get away with it, then I'm just gonna sit down and be like, "Child, I had a long day. I'm not going to that gym today." You know what I'm
No,
saying?
it's
But
definitely,
you know,
it's
sometimes if you
definitely.
have that person that's there to help, like, "Hey, girl, did
Yes,
you get to that?" And I'm
yes,
like, girl, I'm on my way now. Okay, I'm putting on my shoes and walking out the door.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yes.
So
And
you kind
also
of need
like,
that.
yeah, and also like what happens is, let's say that just happens once in a while, not a big deal. But if it keeps happening, then that person, right, like I or one of the nutritionists would say, well, maybe something's not working here. Maybe we need to figure out a different plan. Because
Yeah,
that's a problem. Sometimes people, they just give up because they're like, well, this isn't working, I can't work out. It's like, no, oh, if there's one thing that we are, is problem solvers. We are I think nutritionists are problem solvers. That's the way I see it. If you can't eat your vegetables, we are going to find a way for you to eat your vegetables. Even if that means making zucchini muffins, you know, like there's always, if the person has that motivation and that commitment, there's always a way to make it work. I mean, we have clients we work with who have little kids and they commute to work and they say, oh, I don't have any time to work out. Well, there's a 7-minute workout there. You know, like there's, I believe very strongly that if the person's committed, there's always a way. And it's
yeah,
nice to work with someone who's helping you solve that problem that you want to solve. It's not like you don't want to work out,
right.
right? So maybe you just need to find a workout that you love, that you actually enjoy, or you know, whatever it is. There's many solutions to the common problems that people have, and we're experts in that,
You
you know.
mentioned zucchini bread. So as nutritionists, do you guys offer like recipes
Recipes,
or
sure.
things of that nature, meal
Yeah.
plans and stuff?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of a meal plan because I
Okay.
find that people's lives are too, I mean, we can do it, but we don't have like a standard. I mean, we do have standard meal plan ideas in there,
Okay.
but I find it's better for people to just kind of figure it out. But I give out in that program, I give out, I don't know, couple hundred recipes probably.
Okay.
But we also have a recipe database that we get them from. So when a client comes and they're like, well, Jill, you know, all the breakfast ideas have eggs. I don't like eggs. Okay. we make up a different set of recipes for your breakfast. So we personalize the recipes based on the person, but there are a ton of them in there that are amazing, and they're all healthy. Like they're all kind of like made to be healthy and tasty. I use the database all the time to make my food. I go in to the data, there's like over 4,000 recipes in there, and I go in, I'm like, okay, what's for dinner this week?
And I like that is individualized to the person, because a lot of times you get you know, a part of these major companies that's doing it, and they are kind of standard with the meals in their meal plans and the things that they're shipping to you freeze dried.
Oh yeah. No, we can do like literally we can filter it out. So it could be like no beans, prep time 20 minutes or less, with the vegetarian, whatever it is, like, and we can filter out all these different factors, and it'll print out like, as you know, the recipe, and then we choose them. Usually we choose them. Like if there's 50 recipes there, we might go, okay, this looks good, and then choose them for them. So yeah, no, that's, and the pre-made meals, I mean, they work for some people, but you know, it's got to be whole foods.
Yeah, because if it's pre-made and it's packaged, it's preservatives to keep it fresh for you. So how healthy are the preservatives, as you just taught me today?
Not good.
I will be doing more Whole Foods. My son goes to Whole Food grocery store all the time. Like that's his favorite little place. So I guess I'll start going to Whole Foods, Trey.
You can buy Whole Foods at ShopRite or any other, you know, I don't know if you guys have ShopRite, but any supermarket. So, you know, if some people have budgetary concerns about, you know, eating healthy and stuff, you can go to your regular store. I'd rather see somebody eating non-organic carrots than an organic granola bar or something like that. You know what I mean? Like those regular stores have lots and lots of Whole Foods. You don't have to go to the Whole Foods.
Yeah, you know,
although it's a nice store, I just, you know, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I know here in Michigan we have Randazzles, and I personally love Randazzles. It's a fresh vegetable and fruit market. So everything is fresh, like really fresh, to the point where it's dirt. You
the dirt off. That's a Whole Food right there. If it's got dirt on it, it's a Whole Food.
So, yeah, I do enjoy that. And so yeah, definitely just have to probably and then I do air fried more. I stopped doing you know, the fried foods or whatever. I air fry more. And then even when I do have that taste for like that pan fried, I use avocado oil now, avocado or olive oil, depending on what I'm cooking. But I've cut that oil out. I took the sugar out and I use the Splenda now. Is that not good? You said, oh, no.
Well, it's tough. It's tough because no matter what those things are processed, but like a Splenda and those types of what they call artificial sweeteners are, there's some questionable research. I mean, the research is not questionable. There are some questionable results around whether or not it affects our brains. Yeah, so I'm not a fan of, I actually say if you're going to sweeten it naturally. So raw honey, maple syrup, fruit, you know, dates. You can, you know, cook apples, reduce it down, and it's very sweet. It depends on what you're making, of course. But you're talking about coffee?
Yeah.
I
switched from caffeine to decaf with the Splenda. Or something.
You know, like, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's good to eat a bunch of sugar, right? I mean, that's never going to be good. I don't know if you want to put honey in your coffee. Probably not. You know, it's a little weird.
Yeah, it sounds a little
I would say, I mean, stevia might be a little bit of a better version because it comes from a natural plant, and
Okay.
But some people don't like stevia. So, coffee, sweetened coffee is always, that is the toughest problem we have as nutritionists.
And you know
Coffee.
what? I just really got into unsweetened almond milk.
Hmm.
Because I'm not a real dairy milky
Right.
like I don't do milk, but I love ice cream. Go figure. But I just started doing the unsweetened almond milk.
Uh-huh.
So maybe that could be an alternative for the coffee. Because usually I just do it black with a half teaspoon of the Splenda. And
Hmm.
that's my morning. I take my medicine with it and I'm ready to go. But I
Hmm.
will try to switch it out for the unsweetened almond milk and see how that works.
That's definitely see, the thing is, what just happened here was I gave a suggestion, but you came up with the solution, not me. That's
Yeah.
also a beautiful thing that I love. And it probably happens in your business too, in your coaching business. But uh it might not be sweet. I don't know, but it'd give it a little milkiness. You could try it out. Just see
Yeah,
see how
yeah.
it is.
Well, I'm gonna try it out tomorrow and I will let you
Okay.
know how it
Let me know, Liana. Let me
goes.
know how it goes.
Well, Jill, thank you so much. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you have a busy day and a full schedule, but thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey with your health with us and just helping us think of other alternatives for our nutritional health and our goals for our nutrition.
Mhm.
I usually would do a lightning round, but again, I know you have to get out of here, so I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just leave us with a thought of encouragement before we do get out of here.
I would say that, well, two of my favorite expressions. One is you are beautiful no matter what. That is a mantra that I say to myself. And I think it's a wonderful thing to just remind ourselves, no matter what your body is doing right now that you're not happy about, you are beautiful no matter what, and you are worthy. That's the other one. You are worthy. You're worthy of the care and the love that you're going to give yourself by, eating well and living a healthy life. So those are two very I guess mantras, very important ones that I tell myself all the time.
I
So I
like
like to
those.
say them out loud.
Yeah, no, I like those. And I'm a believer in affirmations. So I love
Yes.
those. So
Yes.
thank you so much for that. To everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in with us today. I hope you got some good information out of this. All of Jill's information will be listed in the description box. So you could click on the description box for the website, her LinkedIn, the podcast information. Make sure you go to the website, learn more. If you need that help with your nutrition, you need that coach, somebody that's going to check in with you every week and see if you're on okay, if you're on point, that's going to help you put together affordable meal plans for you, for yourself, and maybe even your family at this point. Go to the website, check out Jill, and get get the love that you want for yourself by feeding
Mhm.
good nutrients and positive energy into your own body. Okay, so again, we thank you so much for tuning in to today's Faithfully Her. And as always, show up, show out, and shine, shine, shine. I love you guys. Have a blessed week in
Mm,
Christ. Bye.
thank you. Bye. Okay.